Why wouldn't the shrimp share his treasure? Because he was a little shellfish. So welcome back to SparkleDart. You know how it is. It's been a lot of fun doing this for a little while, and I think I'm really starting to get the hang of this whole talking to myself thing. It's something that Now here's the thing, people think that people who talk to themselves are crazy, and for the most part, you're probably right on that if you were to think something so harsh about your fellow man. Now, if you think something so harsh about your fellow man, maybe you should need to do a little bit of introspective research on yourself and kind of think, maybe I'm not the most qualified person to be talking about this. I did some things that I'm not so proud of. Like, back in the day, I used to go out to the beach and I would throw rocks at people on boats, and they couldn't do anything about that because, they were on boats. And it was like, well, if you're going to be on the boat, you're going to have to accept that people are going to throw rocks at you. And the thing is, no, that's not true. That shouldn't ever be the case. You shouldn't be throwing rocks at anybody, not even people who are protesting Planned Parenthood. You shouldn't be protesting... tripping over my words here. You shouldn't be throwing rocks at anybody because that's ridiculous. Why would you throw rocks at another human being? They don't like to have rocks thrown at them. I know you don't like to have rocks thrown at you. Remember that one time you were out at the out at a bar out on 34th and Locust, and then somebody started throwing rocks at you, and you're like, well, what do? Do I go chase after them? They're throwing rocks at me from a car. I could never catch them. Even though there's a bicycle right next to me, I could never catch them on my bicycle. It would be trying to chase after a train on foot. You just don't do that because it's dangerous. Even though the car could run around and run you over, the train wouldn't be able to do that because the train's on a set track, and if you try to run the train off the track, it's not going to happen, buddy. Let me tell you, it's not going to happen. You can't run a train off the track. Now, here's the thing about trains and derailing trains are actually very easy to derail. All you have to do is detach them from their tracks, and they're technically derailed. Now, you might think, when you're thinking to yourself, derailing a train sounds kind of dangerous, and for the most part it is, because derailing a train means that you're moving several thousand tons of not thousands of tons. That's ridiculous. That's a whole other ballpark. That's neither here nor there. Now, don't get me wrong. I do know my units of measurement, so please don't start chastising me, berating me, calling me a stupid baby because I said something that you didn't agree with, and now I apologize. So let's both move past it. It's on you and as well as it's on me now. That's just kind of how it has to be, buddy. We're in this together, you and me. We're like a partnership now, you and me. You watching my show, me playing my show, and then the both of us agreeing that it's absolutely stupid and that nobody should ever watch it. But you do for some reason, and I don't get that so much. I think that that's a little bit ridiculous that people even watch my fucking show, because it's just like, I'm just sitting here talking about trains derailing, and it's like, I already did enough research about that on Wikipedia to know more than you probably do. That's what you're saying to me. That's not what I'm saying to you. And at this point, I feel like I'm being patronized, because I don't like to be patronized. Now listen, nobody likes to be patronized. There was one guy who tried to tell me that he could throw a baseball further than I could, or no, he could hit a baseball further than I could with the baseball bat. And I'm like, you know what, you probably could, and I'm not even going to try to contest that, because honestly, I can't hit a baseball. I'm very uncoordinated when it comes to sports and athletics. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, SparkleDart, you're a bustling, strong, well-to-do man, right? So why can't you do sports? Why aren't you a sportsman? And I'll tell you why that is because I was never really that big into sports to begin with. I was always more of a track and field sort of person. Now, I did throw the discus, not the discus, the, what's that one thing called? The, shot put. I threw the shot put around, and never really went more than a couple of feet, even though Strongman Jim could throw it a lot further than I could. Strongman Jim was he was a very humble man, God rest his bones. But Strongman Jim, he was in the graduating class ahead of mine, and he was a nice guy. Now, you might think that, well, Strongman Jim, he sounds like he might have been a jock. And let me tell you what, he was kind of a jock. He was the quarterback for our high school football team. And you might think you have to be a jock to be on the football team. And that, for the most part, that's true. Now, I mentioned before that I was in a band. I was in a band in high school, and we played ska music. And there was a guy in my band, the lead singer actually, who tried out for football. Now, he made the cut. He was on the team. Now, don't get me wrong there. He was absolutely part of the team. The thing is, though, is that he wasn't one of the better players, and he never really got to see any play time. And that's a little upsetting, in my opinion, that just because... Well, it wasn't even that he wasn't as good of a player as some of the other guys. It was more along the lines that he wasn't as popular as some of the other guys. Now, would you rather have a guy named Clancy McLaren as your star quarterback, or would you rather have some guy who goes by the name Strongman Jim as your quarterback? And I already know what your answer is going to be. you're going to say Clancy because you think it's funny, because you know it's not the answer that I was expecting you to give me, and because of that, we've reached this impasse where you think that it's a funny joke to say things that aren't right, and I don't think that that's a funny joke at all. I think it's actually very childish when people start making like, oh, like, you know, that's a real fucking funny joke, right? Like, you said the thing that I didn't think you were going to say, like, it's like in anime when a little girl is stronger than a big man. It's like, that's a funny joke, you know. I could get a couple of yucks here and there and all around the square singing "Catch Me If You Can," but you have to kind of keep in mind that those jokes only work on one level, and they're very one-dimensional. And jokes that are one-dimensional, I don't think are very funny. And if you think that those sorts of jokes are funny, I guess that's, you know, you can't tell other people what's funny and what's not funny. Now, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but I like the comedian duo Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim. I think they're very funny boys. I think they got a lot of comedy in their bones and their bodies. And if you've ever seen this show, which you probably do, since you're probably a waste-delayed shut-in who watches Adult Swim, much like myself, then you understand completely what the show's all about. You know that they are ridiculous people who talk about ridiculous things, and they, for the most part, shouldn't be taken seriously. And you know, even though, like I said, that's my favorite show, I'm not going to contest that fact. I'm not going to try to contest something that's very obvious to the common man, like you and like me. We're both common men, common, regular men, good boys, good American boys, who like to eat their peas and their mashed potatoes and go to bed by 10 p.m. It's actually later than 10 p.m. where I live right now, so thank you for not pointing out the irony. I know you really wanted to, and I know it was really difficult for you to avoid saying something so rude to me, but, you know, you just kind of have to sometimes. You have to let bygones be bygones. Now, if you don't let bygones be bygones and you start holding on to things, you start holding grudges, you start kind of having a negative spin on life. You know, people don't like to be around you so much. They think that you're kind of a, you know, I don't want to say a bitch, but bitch is actually a very appropriate word in this situation. Now, when I use the word bitch, I'm using it in a very general sense. I'm not using it to refer to any person of any particular agenda. Now, I know that maybe that's a radical opinion, and maybe I'm a little radical for having such an opinion, but it's just something I've always thought, oh, that's absolutely horrible. I can't believe that turned out for me that way. And so anyways, it's just kind of like, well, listen to your peers and your mentors and your friends who don't use Facebook because they think it keeps them off the grid, even though if you go on Facebook, if you start up a Facebook account and you don't post any pictures, and then other people try to upload pictures that you are in and tag you in them, Facebook will already know that it's you somehow, even though you've never been tagged in any picture on Facebook. They will still know because they have this creepy psychic mind control power that they like to impose on everybody and try to take their spirits out of their bodies and suck them out, like how mosquitoes suck out blood and tsetse flies like to suck on livestock, you know. So that's really all I'm saying. It's just don't be a livestock sucker. I don't want you sucking my cow. If you're gonna suck my cow, please let me know. I will probably tell you that you can't. But if I'm in a good mood, I might tell you that you can suck my cow. So please, just ask me is all I'm saying. Ask me if you want to suck on my cow. That's really what it comes down to. Is just being respectful towards me and my property. You know, I would never come into your yard and start sucking on your goat or your chicken or whatever sort of farm livestock that you have. And I would think that should just be kind of common sense, that you shouldn't be doing that at all. It's just it's not nice, you know. It's not pleasant for other people to have to watch if they're around. Like if you go now, I understand if you go cow tipping, that's like a different thing. You want to go cow tipping, that's absolutely fine. I don't want to tell you that it's wrong, even though I don't particularly condone. Where the fuck did that star go? Am I blind? What's going on here? What's going? There it is. I found it. Don't worry. I know you're worried. I know you like to worry about me and my body, but just kind of keep this one under wraps. Now, this is between you and me. We're going to keep this one a little secret. I'm going to go hush hush, and you're going to like, yeah, I'll listen to you. I'll listen to you, buddy. I'll listen to everything you say because, you know, you make a good point, and I like to listen to you when you talk because you do like to make good points. And, you know, that's kind of all I'm hoping for, is that you might think that I'll make good points that you can listen to, and then you can use that to change your mannerisms, the way you like to live your life. If you like to go out and party, if you like to go out to Cozumel, go to the old ancient ruins down there. I can't remember what they're called exactly, but they're, they got ancient ruins down there, and it's a very nice place. If you've never been to Cozumel, it's a very nice place. I've been there twice. I went there on a cruise, on an excursion, and then there was one day where we actually, one vacation where we actually stayed in the resort in Cozumel, and we got to go to the beach, and then we went into town, and there were little shopkeepers who were giving us all sorts of deals that they were saying that they would give us these little wooden turtles that had bobbleheads that they crafted painstakingly for like 40 cents, which I guess was like 2 pesos or something. Please, I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is true, go ahead and congratulate me. I like to be congratulated for offhandedly saying something that turns out being true. It might sound a little egotistical, I know, but it's nice to be right, especially when you're pretty sure that you're wrong, and because of that you wind up just saying something that actually winds up making sense. I've said things like that before. I think everybody has. They said something that sounded a little more philosophical than they meant on sounding in the first place, and at that point it was like, well, thank you for noticing how philosophical and smart I am. I like to say these things and I like to have people listen to them, and then they'll be like, wow, SparkleDart, you're very smart. Boy, I'm like, I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong, but you are wrong, and that's kind of the impasse that we've reached here. Is that you think I'm right when I'm not right, but it's not in me to say that you're not right. So it's just kind of like, well, thanks and no thanks. That's really all it comes down to. Is just that I'm trying to. That's the point I'm trying to make. The central point that I'm trying to come to is that if you say something philosophical, don't let it go to your head when people think that you're smart for saying that, because honestly, if you didn't mean to say it, then it's not something you should really be taking a whole great deal of credit for. That's just really what it comes down to, I think, is that don't take credit for things, especially if you're going to make a joke, and it's a joke that you heard your friend say one time, but you don't remember where it came from, and then you think that you came up with it because you don't remember where it came from. Like, you think maybe was it in a dream that you had. You tell a story that you think that maybe you dreamt, but it was actually a story that your friend told you last week, and you're like, yeah, so that actually happened to me. It's like the story you tell when you go down to Missouri to see the arch in St. Louis, and you say that somebody set up a swing off of the arch and they were swinging on it, and it was really funny because it looked cool, and then you got to take a turn on that swing, and then it was a fun day, and then your dad took your picture, and then you went and got ice cream, and then you both went back to the hotel and slept in the same bed because you booked a room that only had one bed, but you didn't tell anybody about it because it was kind of embarrassing at the time. Like that. That's kind of what it was. That's kind of like what my story was that I was talking about not too long ago. So if you've ever done something like that, and then you think you thought it happened to you, but it actually happened to your friend's dad and him, and then they didn't talk about it except that one time when you went out to AJ's and got real drunk, and then you had to walk home, and then on the walk home you started telling the story, and he's like, I don't believe that story's true, but it's really funny, so I hope that it is true. It's one of those stories that you think might be false, but you hope it's true so much that you are willing to believe that it's true, even if it's absolutely ridiculous. Like the story about how you swallow 6 spiders in your sleep every year or something like that, as it turns out is actually a study by some university to see how fast a rumor such as that could spread. Now, I think we've covered a lot of ground here today, so I think we're going to call this one good. So please, just come back tomorrow. We'll do the same thing. I don't know, probably not. Maybe got something going on. I don't care if you don't come back, honestly. But if you do, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I will pinky promise that I won't call you a jerk if I ever see you in real life. So thank you for watching SparkleDart. Bye.